Well, you get to see me back here again after I've had a little bit of rest. And I ran across a video that I want to do a reaction to. And you guys know that unless it's a vegan, I don't really care to do reactions to it. But this particular channel, I do want to do a reaction to. The reason I want to do a reaction to it is because this video on why the hospitals are empty seemed to be just complete utter trash. And this guy's got like 240,000 subscribers. His name is Beau of the Fifth Column. So we're going to check it out. And I'm going to let you guys hear me react to it as he is answering why the hospitals are empty. Oh, look, it comes up immediately. Beau of the Fifth Column. And we will go from there.
Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Beau again.
I will share this screen with you. Chrome tab. So now you can see what's going on here. Now, let's go to the video that I'm talking about here. Let's just go to his video playlist. I'll just type it in up at the top here. I'll have to let's talk about why the hospitals are empty. Let's see if we can find. Let's talk about why the hospitals are empty. This is 1 week ago. It's been viewed 144,000 times. So this is what we're gonna.
Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Beau again. So tonight, I'm going to answer the burning question on Twitter. And then we're going to talk about why people look for stuff like that during times like these. Now, for those who are not on the platform, let me catch you up. There are a bunch of people running around right now filming the outside of their local hospital. And because the parking lots are empty, well, that's obviously proof that, it's all hyped.
First of all, I have to start here and say that is where YouTubers like to take what people are saying and rip apart pieces of it to justify their case. Here, he's clearly doing that. He takes that one little piece and says, well, because the parking lots are empty, that means that it's all a hoax, as if they're not being reasonable by saying that. Well, first of all, we know that the majority of the facility is shut down due to what's going on. That's not why people are saying that. They're saying that because the tents and stuff are put up out there, and they're not seeing nobody go to the tents. They're not seeing anybody coming and going from the emergency room. They're not seeing the fact that social media and the news is making it seem like it's a war zone. That's what they're not seeing. So let's get that fact straight right now. This is already looking to be a dramatized video and made to be presented one way and then bail from the conversation and not be able to talk rationally about it. When you're the person putting out the video, that's typically what happens. You know, I'm not saying that there are some hospitals that are not busy, but the majority of hospitals are not busy. And there's nothing going to the tents, there's no people getting tested, and there are no heavy cases going into them. We even have people that show up at the big hospitals in the big cities, and they're like, it's a normal day here. There's the facilities that they put together outside are not packed. The lines aren't down the street. I don't see anything abnormal. Let's continue.
It's overblown. It's sensationalized. It's a hoax. It's not really that bad because the parking lots are empty. Some actually went inside the hospital. This is all, you can find all of this stuff under hashtag film your hospital. I'm going to explain why that's a bad idea here in a second. But before I get to answering the important question of why the hospitals are empty, I want to draw attention to two people that helped get this theory out there. The first is Deanna Lorraine, a Republican congressional candidate from California.
So she's not the only one that was talking about it. He did say help get the idea out there. There are many people talking about this. He even references Trump later on in the video to put some kind of comfort in saying that, you know, Trump talking about statistics and this thing getting out of hand before it gets better. Well, Trump, even when he's talking online, even when you see him on the news and stuff, when he's going over the statistics, he's so like done with having to say certain things, the way he's reacting to things, you can almost see it in his face and his body language and stuff in general that he doesn't even believe half the stuff that's going on. Dr. Fauci himself says a lot of the statistics, a lot of the stuff that's being made up over social media and the news is not correct. So no wonder why people are wanting to film their hospitals. No wonder why they're wanting to keep people accountable, because that's just kind of the right thing to do, especially when you have people much higher up than you that are saying a lot of this stuff is not true. A lot of it's made up. A lot of it, people privately on social media are making things up as if the CDC said this or the WHO said this or this such and such person said this, and they're creating their own memes, their own posters, their own this is what you should be doing in this time of crisis. And they're saying that this is fact, and it's not. So there's a reason why these people are doing this stuff. It's not that they're doing it for no reason.
And her tweet was retweeted by Sarah A. Carter, a Fox News correspondent. Ms. Carter, I understand that you didn't co-sign this when you retweeted it. You just said, it's interesting for sure, I'll be watching. But see, you're a journalist. You know everything that I'm about to say. You should. It's not interesting. You retweeting this
and that's where you're wrong. People need to be held accountable. Her retweeting this and putting the ball in somebody else's court, or maybe the idea in somebody else's court, hey, be careful. Watch what's going on. There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. And that's what we should be doing. And for you to stand there and say that and be disingenuous and say it's not interesting, you're speaking for everybody else. How dare you speak for everybody else? There's no reason that you should be speaking for everybody else. You should be giving your opinion and not stating something as if it's fact and being so stern in the fact that you say it and just say, look, I just don't think that was a good idea. No, it's not. Yes, it is. It's very interesting. It's interesting the fact that other people share the same idea and perception that you have. And if you're seeing something a certain way and it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, well, damn well must be a duck. And if I can sit here and say, you know what, I wonder if there are other people with my same view. Let me share this and see how other people respond. Maybe there's somebody that can respond in a positive way to make me think about this different, and maybe I am wrong. But there's a purpose for that, and there's a reason why you do it. Let's continue.
Giving this little theory life, I don't think it was a wise decision. You should know everything I'm about to say, at least most of it. And you should also know that your viewers are pretty easily influenced. They saw you express interest in this.
That's life. Whenever you really look up to a big YouTube person, whenever you look up to a big doctor, whenever you look up to your mother, your father, your boss, whoever it is, if they say something and you're pretty oblivious to what's going on in general, and they seem like a more reputable, educated person, and you have trusted them for so long, of course it's natural to navigate and be pulled into that direction, almost like a magnetic field pulling, because that's just normal. That's life. You don't talk down upon that. You just try to educate and maybe make people see a different way. You don't tell them that they're doing something wrong or make them feel like they're doing something wrong. They're doing what they think they should do.
If people believe that it's overhyped, do you think they're going to take the precautions they need to? Journalism is supposed to be a public service.
It's not a matter of thinking if it's overhyped. It's too far gone past that. We already know that it's overhyped. We already know that China knew long before January that something was wrong. We already knew that people were lying and skewing the statistics of the numbers. Look, just a day or two ago, a couple days ago, something like that, Italy went back and looked at 80% of the cases that they diagnosed as COVID-19 to find out they were not. It was a projection diagnosis based on the rights given to them by the medical industry because they don't have enough tests to test every single person. So you inflate and jack these numbers way up sky high. And when it was like 1% death rate, then it really starts looking like 4 or 5 or 0.4 or 0.5% death rate. So that's a big difference in the numbers. So when you look at how much you're being lied to and how much the statistics don't match with what's going on, and how the doctors are coming forward and saying, look, the ventilators seem to be making people worse when they're in that last stage about to die. This is not how we should be treating them. When you have doctors from those emergency rooms that are specifically tailored in the meat of everything that's going on saying, look, this is not working. We don't need to be treating them with a pre-calibrated amount that the ventilator puts out to keep these people alive because it's making their lungs even worse and they're dying. There is a reason to start asking questions and sharing things and holding people accountable. It's not the fact that people aren't going to be cautious and wear their mask or clean their hands or something like that. It's just the fact that they're going to continue to do that, but they're going to question what's going on because they want to be told the truth, and they're consistently seeing that they're not being told the truth. People will still do the things that they're supposed to do and still be skeptical at the same time. For you to think for 1 second that they're not going to do that, I think they're completely lying to me. But I still sanitize my hands. I still wash my hands. I still try to do what I can do to make sure that I don't make anybody else sick, even if this is remotely possibility a thing, which I think it is, small percent, but it's overhyped. For somebody to say that because of some person online saying that they want to even question if this is real or not, why the people aren't showing up at the hospitals, that you're already projecting that those people are such sheep that they're going to follow that person and they're not going to clean their hands and they're not going to do what they have to do to protect themselves. You're wrong for that. It's a complete projection on your part. So what you're saying that somebody else is doing wrong, you're turning around and doing the same exact thing. You're projecting, and your audience is going to think that you're completely right by saying what you say. None of us are right in this. We have an opinion, but with you having 240,000 followers, the way you're coming off right now is if everything that we're doing by being skeptical is wrong. That's wrong in itself. And this video was, I'm sorry, you seem like a decent dude, but it was like almost a waste of time for me to even review it. But I'm doing it anyway, just to shed some light on the fact that people that think this way that you do, that's wrong in itself.
Okay, so why are the hospitals empty? Because most of the hospital's operations are shut down. Go figure. That means the parking lot's empty. Crazy, right? The Surgeon General advised that hospitals get rid of elective procedures right now. Don't do them. Most did. I think all did, actually. The emergency room is just a tiny bit of what a big hospital does. All of that other stuff, unless it's emergent or urgent, related to that, it's not going on right now. Therefore, the parking lots are empty. There's no big mystery there. None. But you can play with that information for a second. That may help you determine whether or not it's serious. Hospitals have to watch their bottom line, right? And they're choosing to forgo all of the revenue from all of this other stuff and keep the beds empty because it's overhyped, because it's sensationalized, or is it because they're worried about a surge and they don't want little Timmy in there who just had his tonsils out catching something? They don't want to waste the PPE, the protective equipment, doing stuff that doesn't absolutely have to be done right now. Maybe they need the beds. Hospitals, even though they have to watch the bottom line, they also provide a public service. They're being responsible. Now, to those who went inside a hospital, the ERs, yeah, they're empty.
Let's stop here for a second. Just because a hospital is empty and just because there's not a lot going on doesn't mean that it's okay for them to skew and lie on the news. When you put out something like the Edward Hospital in New York, where it showed people lined up down the road to get tested in the COVID-19 tents, and then all of a sudden an hour later there's a lady there with her kids in the car pulling over, going live on Facebook and on YouTube saying, where are these people at? Where's this body bag truck that they just literally showed an hour ago that was parked outside this building and they're pulling body bags out to it? Where's these people that all of a sudden pop up on social media and they're putting body bags in this truck, but yet they're not showing their name. They're not talking about what hospital they are. They're not showing their face. They're all covered up and they're dragging bags into this truck. But yet I show up an hour later and people are lined up down the block to get tested and there's nobody here. What about our carnivore boy that showed up at the hospital in New York just a couple days ago, and they made it seem like it was a war zone and it was just a normal day. There was normal people walking around on the roads. The tents were all out. There was no people walking around. There was no people going in and out of them. There was a couple of people around them, but that was it. These are the things that the news is hyping up and making bad. So for them to go and video and look and try to show accountability and try to say the news is not correct, there may be operations going on, but it's not as bad as the news says it is. We need to know that stuff. That's stuff that's going to make people's peace of mind and sanity stay together while they're trying to do what they're supposed to do and stay inside, wash their hands, do the things that you say they're not going to do because they're believing people that think a lot of this is a hoax or hyped up, which they're continuing to do anyway.
They are. Most people who go to an ER, they're not actually having an emergency. Okay? Right now, I've talked about this on this channel before. An ER is for, oh, I cut my finger off. Not, I've had the sniffles for 3 days and now I feel like I want some meds. That's not actually an emergency. But right now, because there's a risk associated with going to the hospital and you got to be certain kind of stupid to go without reason, people are kind of exercising a little more discretion. Is it really an emergency? No. Nobody's showing up with a tummy ache right now. And for the record, that's the standard. What you're using right now, that's the standard you should always use.
And I do agree with what he's saying right here. People do abuse the emergency room. I mean, it's too far gone with the way people abuse the emergency room. And they go there for things that they don't need. And it should be the standard of what we're doing right now when we don't go to the emergency room. It should be the standard of staying out of the emergency room while we try to deal with just normal things like colds and stomach aches, and I thumped my fingernail or accidentally hit my finger and I'm okay. I can still move it. I know nothing's broken. It's probably just going to push my fingernail off. That stuff you don't need to go to the emergency room for. So I agree with him here. Finally,
an emergency room is for serious issues. Now, to those who went inside the hospital and wandered around filming, let me show you what you did, because the big question is, why don't I see any of them? Don't worry, because see, you took your phone and you hit record, right? And then you held it down low and walked around because you're a super secret spy and everything. And you're opening up doors and touching elevator buttons and all that stuff. Then you walked outside, grabbed your phone with the other hand, and uploaded it, and then you put that phone up to your ear. Don't worry. About 2 weeks, you should probably see where the patients are.
Actually, that's a complete misguided statement that he made. They said 80% of people, if not more, are asymptomatic, and they won't even know that they're sick, for one. Number two, with as clean as a hospital is and how they're testing everybody that's coming in for fever and everything else, there's really no chance for it to get spread throughout the hospital because people are being super cautious right now with the PPE that they're wearing, the bleaching of the suits, the hazmat suits and stuff like that, temperatures at the door if you're going to go in and everything else. If you're a person that's not sick anyway, chances are they're even saying most people are not sick, and the people that are sick are asymptomatic. So you could spread it. There is a possibility. But the chances of that happening right now with so many people staying away and the extra precaution on cleanliness and stuff like that is not to the extent that this guy's making it out to be. Should you be in a hospital filming? No, I don't. I do agree with him that that's too far. That should not be something that's being done. But what I do agree with, or what I don't agree with, is the fact that he's making this out to be much, much bigger than what it is. It's not a good idea to do that, but the chances are, like this guy saying, oh, you went in and you filmed something or whatever, and you touched some elevator buttons and you uploaded, you put your, no. Chances are you're not going to be sick from something like that. It's very slim to none that the very few people that did do that's going to happen in a hospital, because people are going around sanitizing stuff around the clock, bleaching stuff around the clock. I just talked to a couple nurses within the last 2 weeks that's what they're doing. The hospital, there's nothing going on at the hospitals, but they're constantly cleaning, sanitizing, washing things down. And the chances are by the time they come back around and sterilize a button that you've pushed because they know that's a high contact area, or even getting in a hospital in general, most of the time you have to be tested. A lot of the hospitals are starting to test at the door before people even come in. So don't have a lot to say about that right there, but he's really taken that and dragging that out quite a bit. And it's not something that's very accurate to what he's saying right now. A lot of fear mongering going on by saying, oh yeah, we'll see in 2 weeks who the patient is. Probably not going to be you. Not a good idea that you did that. You should not have went in the hospital and videoed. But again, probably nothing going to happen to that person. It's just a little bit of fear mongering going on, just to try to prove a point, and I get it. But probably nothing going to happen.
That PPE, one of the things they wear is called an isolation gown. From that, what can you infer? That people are in isolation. No, they're not going to be hanging out in the hallways. They're going to be in different rooms, hopefully, because maybe this person has something bad and this person just has the sniffles. They're going to try to keep them separated. Most hospitals aren't even allowing visitors anymore. So, no, you are not going to just walk in and find them and film. And please, don't film patients. Don't do that.
I like how genuine he's being when he talks about not filming patients. I think it's a little bit acted, just for the simple fact that we know that's not a good idea. The normal, decent human being that's taking the extra effort to hold somebody accountable when they're videoing something like this probably knows, in the grand scheme of things, that's not a good idea. We know that if people are super, super severely sick, they're going to be in isolation. But that hospital is not going to have so many rooms like where people are in isolation that you can't see something's going on. If there's an area that's highly active, like New York at Edwards Hospital or something like that, you would think that you would see ambulances coming, going, or something like that. You would see the body bag trucks. You would see people lined up to get tested. None of that's going on. I mean, I don't see people that are live going to these places seeing that stuff going on. Now, there are people that are sick, sure. People are in isolation, but it's not to the extent that social media is making it out to be. It's not to the extent that the news is making it out to be. And like we've seen today from the doctor that I showed you guys earlier with that 7-page report that they're being told to go ahead and diagnose people, even if they show some of the symptoms and they think that, I don't have time to get around to this right now. We don't have the extra test to do the diagnosis if it's COVID-19 or not. So let's just go ahead and fill out this diagnosis report on the end of the death certificate and say that death was due to COVID-19. And he said that's not even a proper procedure to go to, but that's what they're telling them to do. That's how they want them to fill out the paperwork. And then there's extra money involved, $13,000 to have them admitted, another $39,000 if they have to put them on a ventilator, and then the doctors that are coming forward now and saying the ventilators really aren't working. And then you have doctors from Italy, from LA, several doctors from across the world that are using azithromycin and hydrochloroquine, and they're very successful, 100% success rate with the inflammation going down and clearing up the pneumonia in the lungs and stuff with azithromycin and hydrochloroquine as the treatment. And you remember when Trump stood up and said, you know, that's kind of, they were going to look at the malaria drug to see how it reacts with this type of condition. And then at the end of it, Dr. Fauci kind of came up and was like, yeah, that's probably not going to do anything, right in front of Trump. I mean, they were almost touching basically. And he was like, yeah, that's probably not going to do anything. Well, it is. Look at this guy, this doctor in Italy that is 100% success rate. And the guy in California, 100% success rate. A guy in, it was India or the Middle East, 100% success rate with this pack, the Z pack and the hydrochloroquine, 100% success rate. So if they start adopting this type of method, there's probably going to be less people in isolation if they can get them in and out. You shouldn't be filming inside a hospital for one. Yeah, people are going to be in isolation, but it's not to the point that social media is making it out to be and that the news is making it out to be. And if people want to hold people accountable for that, that's fine. Going into a hospital to do that type of stuff, I don't necessarily agree with, but then at the same time, we have news media that's lying to us. They're showing us emergency rooms that are just full of people and stuff like that. Fox News that had the dummy laying on the bed, and you could tell it was like the fork-like fingers where they were plastic fingers, the plastic square jawline with the hole in the throat and stuff like that. And they were showing like a ventilator and stuff it was doctors practicing with the ventilator. And they were showing it as live footage as of what was going on in a live emergency room as people were getting treated. And it was a complete shit show. That's not even what it was. And what about CBS stealing the footage from Italy's emergency room and then editing into their program saying that this was, again, live emergency room footage from New York, and then having to apologize and say that it was a mistake. These are the types of lies that we're seeing at China saying that they didn't know about it until January when they knew about it months prior. They were already having people break down the virus to check the genome expression to see what the virus was made of. So there's too many lies, there's too many loopholes, there's too many reasons why people should be trying to hold people accountable. So to come on here and make a video like this to tell people why they shouldn't be doing any of this stuff is super disingenuous.
So that should answer the questions, at least I hope. But now we have another question. Why do people look for stuff like this? Why do they want to believe this? We've talked about it before in other videos when we talk about theories like this. The world's scary. It seems like it's out of control. And sometimes it's comforting to think that there's a group of people in control. Because then it's not just chaos. There's a plan. There's somebody out there making things happen. And it's comforting in a way to think of it.
But that's what they've said for the last 70 years. The obesity epidemic hasn't changed. The cancer epidemic hasn't changed. Leukemia hasn't changed. These conditions and stuff that we're dealing with, a lot of them are getting worse and not getting better because somebody had a plan. And we were supposed to trust these people. When you go from $40 million worth of obesity epidemic to $1.6 trillion worth of obesity epidemic, and we have people like Halliburton, Procter & Gamble, Bill Gates, billionaires that are pumping money into the industry to skew things a certain way, we're never going to be able to get accurate advice from somebody that truly wants to lead without being skewed by the big dollar sign, the mighty dollar. So just because you think the government and this corrupt medical industry that we have has a plan that we should sit back and just trust them, it's complete bollocks. It makes no sense at all.
Yeah, I wish that it was sensationalized. I wish it was overblown. I really do. But understand the President of the United States said he'd be doing a good job if only 100,000 people were lost.
But the president also brought up the fact that hydrochloroquine and hydrochloroquine azithromycin would be used to try to treat this. In Fauci, the people that they're getting the medical advice from shot it down immediately. So this is the same person that's referencing the president that's getting the statistics from the medical providers. Yet he's saying to listen to them, but they completely shot down what the president was saying to begin with anyway, and it seems to actually be working. So who should we really listen to here? Beau from the fifth column, that is upset that people are trying to hold the government and the social media and the news accountable? Or are we going to try to continue to do what we feel like we need to do to stand up for our left and our right? I mean, if you cover my six, I'm going to cover yours. That's how it is. If you cover my right, I'll cover your left. But if you tell me that I should sit back, shut up, and follow like a sheep, that's not something I'm going to do. Not for Beau from the fifth column, not for our president, not for nobody. I'm going to still continue to question things and try to figure out why there's so many loopholes. Why is nothing making sense? Why is Italy going back and looking at the numbers to see that there were skewed statistics, and they're finding out that nowhere near the number of deaths had anything to do with COVID-19?
And when you compare that to those numbers at the beginning, if we didn't do social distancing and stuff like that, 100,000 seems all right. 100,000 in a couple months.
So when we compare that back in the beginning, when we weren't doing the social distancing, as if the social distancing is helping, right? Yet who, Boris from the WHO, just sat on that panel, like a week ago, and said that he thinks people could possibly be taking it from the street back into the homes where they shouldn't be taking it, but yet that's what they told us to do from the beginning, is social distance. Go back to our homes, even if we think we're sick and we can kind of deal with it. It will pass. It'll go through its phase and stuff, and you'll get over it. If it's not super, super severe, stay at home, lockdown, quarantine, martial law, blah, 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 all this other stuff that people have been saying. Yet we have Boris from the WHO saying if the person goes back into the home and gets people in the home sick, we should be able to go in that home and take them and remove them from that home. That's what they want the authority to do. Right. So who should we really be listening to?
That's more than U.S. soldiers were lost during 10 years of the Vietnam War.
Very sad.
And 10 years of Iraq. And 10 years of Afghanistan, all added together. It's not overblown. You need to take the precautions.
It is overblown. They've already admitted that it's overblown. Fauci himself has admitted it's overblown. The doctors that are in Italy, that are in LA, in New York, and they have all admitted that it's overblown, that we need to relax, we need to chill out. Even Fauci himself said, why don't you guys just kind of relax a little bit, do your part in cleaning yourself, but don't over stress about this stuff. Don't get to the point where you're a person at home cleaning every single thing throughout the day. You're going to stress yourself out to the point where you're going to make yourself sick. Just be normal. Just know that you got to wipe off your faucets, wipe off your handles. Be normal. You don't got to go around cleaning your seats and your tables and stuff all day. Stress yourself out. Be normal about it. Just stay clean. Obviously these people are telling us that we're already over sensationalizing it. We're overhyping it in general. We're letting social media and different parts of the news networks make us more sick and worried about this whole entire thing as it is. So it is real. Yes. Is it over sensationalized? Is it overhyped? Yes. So Beau, I have to disagree with you there, because the people that you say you trust are actually saying that it's overhyped.
And look, you want to stand outside a hospital and film it, whatever. Enjoy your hobby. Walking around inside one, it's a bad idea on a whole bunch of levels. And since you probably don't care about other people, we'll do it this way. You'll probably pick something up that you're going to take home to people you do care about. Right now, stay at home. Wash your hands. Don't touch your face. It's scary, and it's out of control. There is no curtain. There's certainly not a man behind the curtain. we're going to have to ride this out. And people like you who are running into these places and going around town, you're the reason it's going to be real bad. You're putting a lot of people at risk with this.
So there's a couple theories here. There's the herd immunity standpoint, and then there's the social distancing standpoint. You get a reaction from one group of people that say actually keeping people indoors is going to make it worse, and you get a reaction from people saying that being indoors is how it's going to stop from spreading. So if you're out and about in the sun, in the elements and stuff, they think that that could possibly help cure a lot of it. Being around other people and stuff, some people will get sick and some people will die, but you will build up an immunity to it. Your body will actually work out its own natural vaccine process of fighting a virus or something like that. That's one theory. The other theory is this is a lab man-made virus. It's very, very strong, and this is not something that you can practice herd immunity. And being in home is the way it needs to be done. We don't know that. We don't know any kind of facts on it. They consistently say, they keep saying, we don't know, we don't know, we don't know, we don't know. So if all you hear is we don't know, we don't know, we don't know, Beau, you're sure serious and sure about the answers that you have for people when they continually stand online and tell us they don't know. I'm going to end this video with that, and I'm going to leave it to the people to decide. You're awfully sure about a lot of what you're talking about when we consistently hear, I don't know, we don't know, we don't know how to fix this, we don't know what's going on. But you sure are. So if you have the answers for all of it, Beau, maybe you should go fix it. Thanks. I appreciate it. This was no disrespect to you, Beau. Just didn't like your video you put out, so I wanted to do a review on it. It's my thoughts on the situation. Well, guys, I had to close this video out. I've said what I had to say about it. I had to review this video because this video was kind of rubbed me the wrong way completely. It was like this guy was to the point where he was telling people to just basically believe everything that the World Health Organization was telling them to do, and that he was basically putting out that everything, in a sense, not to the exact aspect of what I'm about to say, is he was almost making it seem like people should just believe whatever they're being told, and that's not what I'm going to do. And almost made it seem like people were wrong for trying to hold social media accountable for going out and doing the things and videoing and trying to question why we're being lied to. So this video pertained to that, and it was my thoughts on it. So it's a little long. We're at 38 minutes now, and I don't want it to drag on much longer. But that was my complete review on Beau from the Fifth Column's observance on why the emergency rooms are empty. So if you haven't and you just tuned in late, please take a step back and watch the video from the beginning. I'm not trying to be super critical of Beau, but I am trying to be reasonable at the same time and say that there are reasons why people are doing what they're doing. You can't take your opinion and state it as fact when all we hear is I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know constantly on the news by the people that are trying to run this stuff, and yet pop up yourself and act like you have all the answers. If that's the case, then go fix the problem. That's it. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you.